Hey there, this is Debesh, the info security researcher. Today is Saturday, and this is the Tech Talk podcast from my podcast window. I'm from India. Today's topic is data protection jeden tag every day. That means, and the guest speaker is Ayana Dotto, who is a data protection law practitioner and specialist. So, without much ado, let us bring the guest on the screen.
Hello.
Hi, Iona. Welcome to the podcast window.
Thank you very
And
much.
this is a podcast, as you know, that it is telecast, live streamed on LinkedIn and YouTube. And thank you for agreeing to come to this podcast and expose yourself live.
It was my
Uh,
pleasure.
Thank you. And so before I start, I should introduce you, but it is better that you can tell about yourself in the beginning, as it is written in the player image and also in the text. So you are Ayona Dotto,
Yes.
and now you are in the city of Bonn,
Yes.
Germany,
Yes.
and you are working there, and you have been in this region for many years. So, could you please tell us about your background, briefly about your background and how you came to this place before you start? Over to
Definitely.
you. Yes.
I would like to present with the presentation. Is that okay? Should I? Can I start
No,
off?
you yes, yes. Of course, you can share the
Thank you.
presentation. That will be better.
Thank you. So,
Okay, here is your presentation. Let me show the presentation. Yes, your presentation, and you can now
okay.
start presenting. Okay, yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So, a little bit of about myself. I'm Ayona Dotto, and I'm also from Kolkata. I'm originally from India, Kolkata, India, and right now I'm staying in Bonn, Germany. If you are a little bit history fascinated, if you are fascinated by history, then you would probably remember Bonn used to be the capital of West Germany when Germany was divided into two parts, West and East. Now, definitely, it's not the capital of Germany any longer, but it still remains a very charming and a beautiful city. I completed my master's in IT law and intellectual property law from Leibniz University, Hanover, and Oslo University in Norway. So I have a dual degree from both Hanover and Oslo. I have been working in the field of data protection law from 2021 to 2024. And currently, I'm working in a public administrative institution. I'm just going to see what the public administrative institution is. I work with the Bonn Police.
Oh,
And
interesting.
yes, I work with the Bonn Police, and I have been working with Bonn Police since 2024. I started off as as the data protection officer of Bonn Police. Then some health issues came up, so I switched to communications. But I still maintain a connection with data protection law because data protection law is so much integrated in the everyday life here that you cannot just do away with it. You have to stay in contact with data protection. Failure to do so might result into severe consequences.
I see.
And Apart from the data protection part, I speak four languages fluently. Bengali is definitely my mother tongue. Hindi, English, definitely when you are in India, you do speak these three languages fluently, or at least your mother tongue and Hindi and English fluently in most cases. And since my work is totally in German, I had to be fluent in German. So I speak now four languages fluently. And I love to cook, travel, sing, and music. Music is one of my greatest passions. And whenever we have a sunny day over here, the cloud without any clouds, clear sky, I try to go around Bonn and snap photos because I love the city that much.
So that is excellent. And as you mentioned that you have lived in different places,
Mm,
like your degree also is from two places, connecting two places.
yes.
So how do you compare the places when you like switch, say from that in Oslo and in Germany in the educational arena? How is it much different or it is similar?
It is similar. It's just that when you are in Germany, you feel that this was a very big change for me, because as a freshly graduated bachelor's graduate, when I came to Germany in 2016, this was a huge change for me. I expected my professors to provide us notes and everything which we just had to mug up and write in our exams. But the system is completely different over here. You have to have some analytical skills, so that you have to learn your own things. The professors are there to give you the framework, but the learning itself, the collection of notes, the making of notes, the learning process has to be done by you. As the Germans say, you are here to study. So there's a two different words in German. It's called lernen and studieren. Lernen means you are actively learning from someone, and studieren means you are studying. So there is studying has a very good combination of researching and getting the framework from your professor. So that's what learning or studying in a German college is here. That was a challenge for me, but I managed somehow. And Norway is even more open in that sense. You just get the framework and you attend classes, you take notes, and then you go with that notes to the library, because you have to do your own research. Otherwise, you cannot pass your classes.
Yes, that is excellent for the students. Like they grow and they study
Yes.
and they learn,
Yes.
and also they while learning they also learn little bit of how to teach.
Yes, they do.
Yes, and as you have mentioned, lives in Bonn,
Mhm.
Nord Rhine
Not Rhine,
Westphalen,
not
not
Rhine-Westphalia.
not Rhine. Yeah. So Rhine is the river.
Yes, the Rhine is the river.
So how is it to you? Means how far it is from your place?
So where I live, the Rhine River is a 10 minutes walk.
Oh,
Yes. So Bonn is a very beautiful place, blessed with hills on one side and river on in front of the hills, I should say. The hills are called Siebengebirge, which means seven mountains or seven hills. It's a beautiful view to see it on a summer day when there are no clouds. You can really appreciate the mountain on a clear day. And I am fortunate enough to live in a place where I can see the mountains from my window,
oh,
and I can take a Sunday walk down to the river in about 10 minutes.
that is excellent. That is excellent. Means so near to the nature.
Yes.
from
And
the
I'm very
window.
grateful for it. And I'm
Yes,
very
from
grateful for it.
yes, 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 yes. In many places, it is not. People live in this in the city, and
Hmm.
it is of course developed, but nature is far away.
Yes.
Like in say the city of Berlin. Berlin must not be that close to the nature, is it?
There are certain parts of Berlin which are close to the nature, but again, it depends on where someone is living. If someone is living near Wannsee, that is amazing. But if you are living somewhere near the city center, then it's a concrete jungle, unfortunately.
Ah, yes. And so from here, so you can now continue with your say current work also, like
Yes,
in your presentation. Please,
yes.
please continue.
So, data protection for me was kind of a love and first sight situation because I started learning about data protection in my classes of in IT law and intellectual property law masters.
I see.
I was fortunate enough to have a professor who can be regarded as one of the founding fathers of data protection law in Germany.
Oh,
And he was already emeritus by that time, but he was passionate about teaching, so he used to come and teach us exactly this particular subject, data protection law.
I see. Okay,
And he explained it so beautifully and he explained it so nicely. I fell in love with the subject and I thought, okay, this is going to be my means of livelihood. I am going to work with data protection.
okay,
That led me to do my master thesis on data protection, also data protection law. And it is kind of we say in German Zufall, which means coincidence. It is a kind of coincidence that the day I submitted my master thesis in May 2018 was the day the GDPR came into power.
yes, May 2018. Yes, yes.
Correct. Yes, that was the day the GDPR came into power. And the little fantasy side of me was quite happy about it, thinking that, oh, I got blessed by GDPR. Yes. So GDPR, talking about GDPR, data protection in itself is very closely related in the everyday life in Germany.
Okay,
The first question people might ask is, another law again? Why do we need data protection?
okay,
So data protection we need because the if we do not protect our personal data, we are basically inviting each and every person with any kind of intention, mostly bad, to use our data to our disadvantage. The first question that might come to the people's mind is, what is personal data at all?
yes,
Personal data is actually all the data that can be attributed to a person and be identified by it. For example, name, telephone number, address, um, in many cases, photographs. These are personal data. This has been quite conclusively defined in Article 4 of GDPR, but we are not going there right now. Um, there are two types of personal data. This can be a direct attribute or an indirect attribute. By direct attribute, I mean the data which allows someone to be connected directly, like name, address, medical history. These are direct attributes. Indirect attributes are, for example, IP address. By IP address, they can say, okay, this laptop or this computer was in this address at this point of time, and this person's phone was also at this point at this address. So this must be the same person. That these are the indirect attributes. Now, personal data in itself sounds very harmless. You know, what will you do with my name? What will you do with my phone number? You can use it, whatever. No, the harm or hazard potential of the personal data is very, very high, especially in today's date of cybersecurity and cyber terrorism, mobbing, cyberbullying. These it has a very high hazard potential. I'm just going to talk about a small case over here, which is not exactly that small. It happened about 11 years ago in Italy.
Okay.
A young girl uh, called Nadia, she was 14 at that time. She went on an internet forum, and as with all teenagers, she had a heartbreak, and she went on an internet forum, and she wrote to all available there, all the users, asking for tips how to get over her heartbreak. Sounds very, how do I say, kind, very soft in this case, right? It turned into a catastrophe.
Okay.
It turned into a catastrophe in the sense that um, the moment she wrote this, instead of receiving the loving, guiding care that she was expecting, she was bullied to the point of self harm. And unfortunately, she jumped off a building and passed away at the tender age of 14.
Oh my
This,
God. Yes.
this
Very pathetic.
created a very huge scandal in Italy, and it kind of made people think twice, or rather, many more times, about going on online forums and asking. Because no one could have expected that simply asking for tips about how to get over a heartbreak can kill a person. This is how powerful personal data is. We use this sentence a lot in our circle, that currently in our current world, data is the highest currency.
Hmm. Yes.
Data is the highest currency because with data, anyone can wreak havoc anywhere.
Yes.
This is the harm
And
potential of personal data. Sorry to
no, no.
break in.
I just want to one question. Like,
Yeah.
say the personal data
Mhm.
and the GDPR is now in action,
Yes.
in effect. So, how then people take, say, phone number and email addresses, like,
Mhm.
say, in many online webinars and
Mhm.
online courses, they
Yes.
ask for
Mhm.
mobile and mobile number and email addresses.
Correct.
So how do they take it in Europe?
I will come to that in a short time. I'll just close this slide
Okay,
with
okay,
the
continue. Please continue. Yes, I
yeah.
have asked pre-asked you. Okay.
No problem. Um, just to say that data protection is also needed for exactly this kind of thing, allowing more autonomy to every person to decide how their data will be used. Just
Yes.
as you asked me right now, that many webinars ask for, sorry, many webinars ask for the phone number and the email ID of participants, of people who are going to speak over there. Data protection allows the participants to decide for themselves, do I want to participate in this program by submitting my email ID and my phone number? Is is the is my participation worth enough for that? Or can I forego this participation and nothing will happen to me? This decision, this autonomy, is being afforded because we have data protection law. I'll just move on to the next slide
Yes.
to show how data protection comes here in personal space. Taking your sorry, taking your question with me. Um, so in this case, if anyone is participating into a conference, say for example a conference where it is being asked you have to submit your phone number and your email ID, and in this case this is called something, do I have the consent of the involved person, the informed consent of the person. If the person is here submitting their phone number and their email ID, that means they have informed themselves in a manner that they can now consent that, okay, I hereby do consent that you can use my phone number and email ID. The onus of informing themselves lies on the data subject or the person whose data is being used over here. Does this make sense?
Yes, yes, of course. Their
Okay,
consent is taken. Yes.
exactly. So there are certain situations which are needed to process the personal data of a person, of a natural person. Let's just see it this way. Because GDPR makes a difference between a natural person and a judicial person. A
Oh,
judicial person is a company or an organization,
okay.
and a natural person is a person like you and me. So, in case of a natural person, there are active measures in place. Say, for example, you are going to um, you are going to create a conference, and you have asked each and everyone in your connections to submit your to you their phone numbers, for example.
Yes.
In this case, to make sure that this is being done in a GDPR protected way, in a GDPR friendly way,
Okay.
affording the minimum standards or at least comparable standards, first rule of thumb is you have to ask yourself, if this was my data, would it be okay for me to share this? If yes, go ahead. If this was my data, would it be okay for me if my data was shared without my knowledge? If okay, go ahead. If not, then stop, consider, think, and then if you know a data protection officer, ask them. That is the rule of thumb that we use in corporate, in um, government institutions also. And then, if we are still not sure, then we fall back to GDPR. GDPR has this whole number of lists that says which are the cases where we are allowed to process the personal data of a natural person. First is definitely, as I said, is the consent of the person. The second point that comes into question, if say if consent is not there, there is no consent, is there any other way to process the personal data without the consent of the person? Yes, there are certain situations. If the data is somehow relevant for performance of a contract, very common example, you have ordered something on Amazon, and Amazon now needs your address to be able to deliver it to you. You cannot say over here, oh, please, Amazon, don't share my data to the postman.
Okay.
Because without the sharing of this data, the performance of a contract cannot be done.
Yes.
How will this deliver your ordered things to your home if they do not know your address? So, for the performance of a contract, in this case, the personal data can be shared and it does not need your consent.
Okay.
For legal obligation, say you are in a court case and the lawyers have to name the plaintiff and the defendant in their files. You cannot say here, please don't use my name, this is my personal data.
Okay.
You have to let them use it because it's legal obligation now.
Yes.
Another thing is the vital interest of the data subject or another natural person. This thing is a classic case where health data comes in. Now, health data is not only personal data, it is sensitive personal data. So we are protecting personal data, but when it comes to sensitive personal data like um, health data, sexual orientation, any kind of trade union membership, voting membership, political membership, those are sensitive personal data. So they are afforded a higher level of protection. Say, for example, someone was in an accident, the person is on the street bleeding out. You have to look for their blood type to be able to save them. In this case, you cannot say, please don't use my personal data. It is needed for the vital interest of the data subject.
Yes.
The last is last two actually. The last one is performance of a task in public interest. This is where we as the police come in. I'm saying we as the police because I belong to the institution. I am not a policeman or a policewoman myself. I just work there as any other salaried person. Um, Here comes the police because, for example, you were with your car on the street and you have been you were in an accident, and now the police needs your name and address to serve you a letter, be it for a fine, be it for a personal interview. They need to serve the letter, so they need your address. You cannot say this, that please don't use my address, you're
Okay.
processing my personal data without my consent. Of course you will not consent, or most of the cases people don't consent. Who wants to get involved into a police case? But this has to be done because it is in the performance of a task in public interest. It has to be done.
Yes.
Then comes legitimate interest of third party not overriding the fundamental rights and duties of the data subject. This is the classic case where cookies comes in. I
Okay.
do not mean the sweet biscuit cookies, I mean the website cookies.
Okay. Yes.
Whenever you are visiting a website, you will always see that cookie banner that accept all cookies,
Yes.
reject
Yes.
all cookies,
Yes.
accept only essential ones.
Yes.
So, these essential cookies are cookies like analytics, or maybe positioning. By positioning, I mean location. So these are needed. These cookies are needed because they are essential for a website to run.
Fe- yes. The features are connected to those information.
Correct. And this is something that can be regarded as the legitimate interest of third party. It is not overriding the fundamental rights and duties of the data subject. It is not saying that okay, by sharing your location, you will see us tomorrow around 12 at your drawing room. They are not saying that. They are not breaching the privacy of the person. They are using the location, say for example, to connect to a better network, for example. So these are the active measures where GDPR allows a person or any data controller. By data controller, I mean someone who has the power to process personal data of any number of natural person. This data controller there is then given these options to process the personal data of a natural person.
Okay.
Now I'm just going to take one step back, and there might be questions like, okay, we understand, but what if there are data controllers who are malicious?
Yes, yes.
Who want to just say, yeah, yeah, I'm telling you that this is in legitimate interest, but it is actually not my legitimate interest. I'm trying to sell your data and gain money. What then?
Yes.
Then there are certain people who are responsible for the protection of data. In private companies, institutions, and administrative and government institutions, there is someone called Data Protection Officer. In German, it's called Datenschutzbeauftragter. For government institutions, it's called Behördliche Datenschutzbeauftragte, which literally means government institutions data protection officer. I used to be the Behördliche Datenschutzbeauftragte for the police before my health problems came up.
Okay.
It is a huge responsibility because you have to be able to answer any kind of data protection questions within the institution or the company itself. And if you are a government organization like ours, then you have to be able to answer the queries of the common people outside.
Okay.
A lot of people will ask, I want to do this, do that. Is this okay data protection wise?
Okay. Okay.
So, for the smallest players in this game, that is the private companies, institutions, and administrative and government institutions, they have their own data protection officer. In Germany, for the whole state, there is someone responsible called the State Data Protection Officer of the state, Landesdatenschutzbeauftragte.
Oh,
If if we come across a problem or a situation where we cannot solve this because it is either it is too high stakes, or it is dealing, or it has to do with very sensitive data, we can always ask the Landesdatenschutzbeauftragte or the State Data Protection Officer of the state, how should we solve this? If the Landesdatenschutzbeauftragte or the State Data Protection Officer of the state cannot solve this, he or she can refer to the Federal Data Protection Officer, the Bundesdatenschutzbeauftragte, who is responsible for the whole country's data protection for Germany. Most of the times, it is normally solved by the Landesdatenschutzbeauftragte, but in very rare cases, this has to be sent to the Bundesdatenschutzbeauftragte. And if it is being sent to the Bundesdatenschutzbeauftragte, um, normally all the Datenschutzbeauftragte and behördliche Datenschutzbeauftragte, they are like on their toes, because whatever the decision that will come, that will be applicable to each and every part of the government. Say for example, if say tomorrow, by some reason or the other, the Federal Data Protection Officer says that, okay, we are going to consider legitimate interest not valid in cases of cookies,
Okay.
then it will trickle down to all others, to the first to the state data protection officer, and then to the data protection officers and the government data protection officers too. And then we have to put that into action. That means that will result into a complete change in the websites that we use to reach out to the public. We have to stop cookies then. We have to completely retract back cookies, which is going to be a huge task force thing. In this case, the Federal Data Protection Officer has a lot of power in hand, and we have to listen to the Federal Data Protection Officer because he or she is the highest power in this game. I am now moving out to the laws.
Okay.
I spoke about the executive power. I spoke about some parts of the judiciary power. Now I'm coming back to the legislative powers.
Okay.
This is this is something that we used to say in when we were in school and we were studying political science. We
Okay.
had to study the three state organs: legislative, executive, and judiciary. And we used to remember this with the acronym or with the short format: LEJ, legislative, executive, judiciary.
Okay.
So, coming back to the judiciary part, GDPR, we all know that is Europe wide.
Yes.
Um, for Germany specifically, there is the Federal Data Protection Law. This results only in data protection cases or in data protection situations that are within the territorial boundaries of Germany. Say, for example, say for example, someone from Berlin called you and said, "Hi, this is ABC Bank. You have won a lottery. I'm sending you this link. Please enter your name and address, and we will send you the money." And somehow you also entered your name and address, but you didn't get any money because that was a huge
Scam.
scam. Correct. In this case, if you from Bonn say, okay, I have been a victim to scam and now I want justice, I'm going to the police will take GDPR, but if they find any places which is not covered by GDPR or any situations which is not covered by the GDPR laws, they will fall back to the Bundesdatenschutzgesetz, BDSG,
Okay.
because this whole thing is taking place within the territorial limits of Germany. It gets even better because there are state data protection laws. Specific states have specific data protection laws. For example, Nordrhein-Westfalen has its own DSG NRW, which means Datenschutzgesetz Nordrhein-Westfalen, the state data protection law of Nordrhein-Westfalen. Um, I'm pretty sure you have heard about the city Cologne, right?
Yes.
Cologne is another city within Nordrhein-Westfalen.
Okay.
It's about 40 to 45 minutes by train from here. And say the same scam doesn't happen from Bonn to Berlin, but happens from Bonn to Cologne. Of course, GDPR will be used. Of course, BDSK will be used, but they will also take DSG NRW, Datenschutzgesetz Nordrhein-Westfalen, because this has happened within the territorial boundaries of Nordrhein-Westfalen.
Okay.
And there are some area specific data protection laws like telemedia data protection law. The church has its own data protection law,
Oh, I see.
Kirchlichen Datenschutzgesetz, KDG, for the protection of patient data, because we recently switched to completely digital patient data.
Yes.
We all have, or most of us have, uh, our health cards. And by health cards, we mean it's our health insurance card. It's a chipped card, and um, all the patient data that takes place every time you visit the doctor, every time you are getting a test, getting a blood test, anything, those are being written into those chip of your card, so that the next time you are in, say you are in some another city and you need to visit the doctor, then you can just go with your um, insurance card, punch it in, and the doctor will be able to read all your patient data without having to ask your current doctor in your hometown for the full file to be sent.
Okay.
Of course, it is very much time saving, convenient, this, that, but it also creates a problem. If somehow you lose your insurance card and someone is clever enough to punch your card into a chip reading machine, your personal data is out.
Hmm.
Yeah. So there are mm, checks and balances going on for that. Um, I do not work in the health sector, so my knowledge for the health sector is quite limited. But what I do try is to stay up to the level of all kinds of data protection law, but unfortunately, some topics do slip through. I am but a human being. So now comes the question that if someone, in spite of all the threats and everything, do end up violating data protection, what happens? First and foremost, as we have, and by we I mean the institution for which I work, we have always advised the common people that if you think you are a victim where your data protection law has been violated, do not hesitate to go to the police and file a case for several reasons. If it is just a scam, like the example I gave a few minutes back, the national authorities will decide if the person is identified who scammed the person. Then they will decide the appropriate fines on the logic that it should be effective, proportionate, and dissuasive. By dissuasive, I means it should act as a deterrent. For example, to a common person, if you charge 3,000 euro for one data protection law violation, that is a hard hit.
Yes, of
That is a
course.
that is a very hard hit, because for a natural person, for an individual, 3,000 euro, it's it's a month's salary for most of us. But if say this violation of data protection has occurred through a company, and if you try to put this same amount to a company would be like, "Ah, that doesn't matter, it's pocket change, let's give it to them." So in this case, the national authorities have the um, power to decide how much should be charged, because till now, till my best knowledge, till now, all the punishments for data protection law violations are monetary in nature. There, as far as I know, there has been no situations where someone has been carted off to jail because they violated the data protection law. It has always been monetary in nature. And because the national authorities have the power, I would just like to share a small story that I had heard as a child. My dad was a very good storyteller, and he used to tell me stories every night. He once told me the story of Akbar and Birbal. And Akbar once was judging three people in his court, and he asked Birbal to give the three appropriate punishments. Birbal went to the first person and said, "How can you do this? You are such an upstanding person." To the second person, he slapped right in his face. And to the third person, he ordered, "Let him be beaten black and blue till he screams in pain." Akbar asked him, "Why did you give three different punishments to three different people?" And Birbal said, "Your Highness, look at the um, look at the effects of how this three affected these three punishments affected these three people. The one who has been told, 'How can you do this?' has left the country in shame. The person who was slapped had gone into monkhood. And the person who was being beaten black and blue, he has sworn not to steal any more from the rich people of the country." So, in this case, what I'm trying to say is that what is effective and proportionate for one person cannot be effective and proportionate for another person. And that's why I think that it is good that the national authorities have the power to control accordingly. But when it is really severe, and by severe I mean Cambridge Analytica severe. I hope you know about Cambridge Analytica.
Yes, yes,
Yes. I'm just shortly describing what Cambridge Analytica is, because it has been some years for our viewers and listeners.
yes, yes,
Cambridge Analytica is a case where Facebook was involved. Facebook users, as we all know who use Facebook, that we have to give in our date of birth, our name, our email address to Facebook to be able to open an account. Correct? We have to give in the data. Um, so this company called Cambridge Analytica in 2010 took the data of Facebook users without their consent and used it to promote political campaigns. This was discovered in 2019, and Cambridge Analytica has been using this data since 2010.
oh my god,
So, for 9 years,
yes,
the initial fine for Facebook in this case, because these are Facebook accounts and Facebook was not vigilant enough to protect this data.
yes,
So the onus falls on Facebook, and Facebook was first told to pay £5 million as damages. But Facebook, Facebook being Facebook, they settled with 500,000 pounds as fine. And after a year or two, Cambridge Analytica filed for bankruptcy because their reputation was gone, their source of data was gone. There was nothing more to do for them except to file for bankruptcy. So when I say Cambridge Analytica severe, I mean severe in the highest possible way. For cases like this, GDPR takes the front stage and says, okay, national authorities, now I am going to step in and I am going to say what kind of fines are to be used here for severe situations like Cambridge Analytica. GDPR GDPR orders, quite literally, um, 20 million euro as fine,
Okay.
be it a natural person, be it a company. For companies, it is even worse because if the 20 million is, say, for such a big company,
Company. It's
yes,
nothing. Small.
it's maybe it's nothing. Then GDPR says, okay, 20 million is nothing for you, fine. We will take 4% of your global turnover from the preceding fiscal year.
Okay.
Whichever is higher will be taken. Either 20 million euro or 4% of the global turnover. Whichever is higher, that will be the fine for the company. And this has deterrent measures in many ways. First of all, the company is suffering physical financial loss. Number one. Number two, in the market, there it would be widespread that, oh, look at that company ABC, it got hit with a data protection law case. Oh my god, that means they are not good at all in preserving our data. Okay, move away from them. So a direct hit to their reputation, loss
Yes.
of business, loss of customers, and not getting new customers. It takes a lot of time to build a reputation, but it is very easy to lose reputation in one moment.
Yes.
And this is where the ingenuity of GDPR is. GDPR hits the companies where it really hurts under the guise of a financial or a monetary fine. But again, GDPR is sometimes a little kind also when it finds that, okay, there are situations where there was data protection violation but the severity was not so high, they will paddle down from 20 million euro fine to 10 million euro fine, be it natural or normal person, and natural or judicial person. And if it's company, then they will say, okay, you don't have to pay 4% of the global turnover, you have to pay 2% of the global turnover.
Okay.
But again, this depends from case to case. This is not a cast die where people can say, ah, okay, this company did this, then it must be a severe 20 million euro case. This company that, then it must be a 10 million euro case. No, that doesn't work that way. There has to be, um, there has to be, the cases have to be given proper consideration, all the consideration that is due, because you are going to hit with GDPR and it will have some widespread consequences. So it needs all the consideration possible, and it sometimes it goes on a little bit longer, but better a little bit longer than losing all the reputation and suffering terrible financial fines. So that is why the thumb rule of this situation is punishments must act as a deterrent. It should not be a case where they will be like, oh, okay, 20 million euro doesn't matter. It's pocket change for us. Give it away and let's continue with this thing. No, it
Yes,
should
yes.
act as a deterrent. Do we have any questions?
No, questions means okay. That was a real case, but anyway, later there were some rumors also that Cambridge Analytica was a uh, synthetic uh, data scam. Means it was created by paying some creating a company. So that was also there. Means it is actually a game from both sides. Like
Yes, that is always a game from both
and
sides.
utilization by the political companies and countries.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
But let us not go into that territory
yes,
because that is a
yes.
very slippery
Different.
territory.
Yes, yes,
Okay, so coming back to the point, uh, rights of the data subject. So I just spoke right now about what will happen if this happens, that happens, severe violation, this that. How can we enforce or find out what is a severe violation if we do not know the rights of the subject? First is right to be informed. And by this right to be informed, I am coming back again to the cookies situation. Whenever you click on a new website for the first time and you see the cookie banner, and by this cookie banner, I mean where you are given the options
yes,
accept all cookies, this cookies, that cookies, right? Sometimes you will see that you have to check into tiny boxes so that you can check, okay, I'm okay with all cookies, no, I'm okay with only essential cookies, no, I'm rejecting all cookies, right? So in this case, this is called this actively putting a tick mark is called opt in.
opt-in. Yes,
Yes, and this serves as the right to be informed. You are ticking that box after reading through the whole thing, which most of us don't do,
don't do.
but it is meant for that reason, that you have to read through the whole thing, inform yourself, make an informed decision, and then click on this checkbox. That is what right to be informed means. Previously, there were situations where the cookie banner was set up like this. If you are not okay with the processing of cookies or using our cookies, please deselect this box. Otherwise, we will take it that you are okay with uh, our cookie processing. This process is called an opt out process.
Yes,
And that was later told by our Court of Justice of European Union that this is not going to work. The users have to make an informed choice, not a pre-made choice
yes,
from which they have to step back. That is the right to be informed. The right to access is have access to the personal data of the users. A very famous case in this situation, this right of access, is of the Austrian law student Maximilian Schrems. Maximilian Schrems was a Facebook user, and at one point of his career, he said, "Okay, I want to know what data Facebook has on me." So he wrote to Facebook and asked for the data. Facebook first declined, and as usual, with law students, a case followed. And Maximilian Schrems won the case. And Facebook was compelled to send Maximilian Schrems all the data that they had on him. He also used the same case to exercise his right to deletion, commonly known as right to be forgotten.
Yes.
Right to be forgotten is also one of the rights of the data subject. Say, for example, if you are a Facebook user and tomorrow you wake up and decide, I don't want to be a part of Facebook anymore, you can go over there in your Facebook dashboard, ask Facebook to delete all your data and close your account. And Facebook is duty bound or legally bound to do that because that is your right as a data subject. Right to correction. This happens often. This happens often. We hear cases from India. Voter ID card was printed. Instead, my name is a very crucial kind of thing. All my life, I had to correct people. No, I am not Ananya. No, I am not Ahana. I
Okay.
am Ayana.
Okay.
So there's a high chance that if I'm going to get any government document, my name might be spelled instead of Ayana as Ananya. That is not my name. It is my right as the data subject to correction, to have my proper name written on it. I'm using this as a very, how do I say, very offhand example. But if this was, say, for example, in my official documents here in Germany, and I see that it's a wrong name printed on it, I have each and every right to go to the official office and say, hey, you got my name wrong. Can you correct it, please? And they are legally bound to correct my name, even if it costs them thousands of euro, because that is my right as a data subject. The fourth, sorry, you were saying something?
No, no, nothing. Please continue.
Okay. The next one is right to restrict processing. Again, coming back to cookies situation, the moment you click uh, accept only essential cookies, that means you are restricting the processing of all other cookies. You are allowing them only the essentials, but you are not allowing any more like marketing cookies.
Yes.
That is restrictive processing. The right to data portability. Very common example nowadays, mobile number portability.
Yes.
Because mobile number is your personal data, because that's how people know that this is your number, this is how you will be reachable. Of course, if it is not possible, you can always get a new number and spread it in your network. But if you want to keep your number, the possibility should be there to port the data.
Yes.
The right to object, coming back to cookies again, whenever we say reject all cookies, we are objecting the usage of marketing data. And the website maker or the owner of the websites cannot make any kind of, um, how do I say, resistance to this, because this is your right as a data subject. He's going to use your data to gain some profits, and you are objecting about it. He has to accept it, or she has to accept it. Then comes right to make decisions about automated processing and profiling. If you are in any kind of social media and you are also a member of any kind of online marketplace. It happens all the time. Say, for example, you looked up a shirt in Amazon and you thought, like, okay, I don't need any shirt right now. I can buy it when it is Durga Puja. You close the tab and you moved along to your social media. Give it a day. From tomorrow onwards, there will be advertisements popping up all over in your social media account. Check out this shirt, check out that shirt.
Yes.
And you will start questioning, why am I seeing shirts all over? I specifically thought I don't want to see shirts right now, because your data has been automatically processed and now you are being profiled as a potential buyer of shirts.
Yes.
So in this case, it is your right to let Facebook know, I do not want any targeted ads. The opposite is also true. You can ask, like, I don't want to see just any random ads. I just want ads that are relevant to me. Send me only targeted ads.
Yes.
The decision is yours to make. And that is what your right here is as the data subject.
Okay. Clear.
Okay. I have spoken a lot about data protection. Unfortunately, the time is not enough to go deeper into data protection, because data protection is a
Huge.
huge, huge
Huge.
monstrosity.
Yes.
We have not even scratched the surface over here.
Yes. 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 Of course. But you have explained it very
Mm,
clearly and
thank
touching
you.
the relevant points, most
Thank you.
relevant points.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions?
No, the questions are means my question about
Mm,
data protection is
yes.
um, means it is a question whether the data is really protected. Means uh, the data protection regulation in whichever countries they say that it
Mm,
is protected,
mm,
but how can the citizens be ensured that the law is protecting their data? Means somebody submitted something or getting replies, and sometimes the replies are not very clear. So that is my question only. I mean,
mhm,
it is here also and
mm,
earlier also, and it
mm.
will remain.
Okay. Um, I will try to answer your question just according to what I have experienced and whatever I have seen, yeah, on the job. So, if the common people are expecting GDPR to protect their data, the people themselves have to actively participate in the protection of their data. You cannot just hand out your phone number and your email ID to Tom, Dick, and Harry and expect GDPR to protect your data.
Yes.
You yourself have to be very active about it.
Yes.
Again, here, you do not have to know the GDPR. Use the rule of thumb over here. If this was your data, would it be okay for you if this data was given to another third person? If yes, okay. If no, think, consider, and act upon it. Second question that you have to ask yourself, again on rule of thumb, is that, if is it okay if this was my data to be given to a third person without my consent? If yes, okay, go ahead. If not, stop, think, consider, and then go ahead. People have to be, this is similar with, how do I say, any kind of law in the country. People think, or people rely on our legislative or executive organs or our judicial organs also, that okay, if something does happen to me, or if I am being threatened in somehow, I will be protected by the law. You can never be sure. It might take 30 years before you get the justice that you are looking for. Similarly here, but if you are actively involved, if you are not threatening someone, if you are being vigilant, if you are closing the windows and doors every night properly, then you are taking the first step there, right?
Yes.
Similarly with the data subject, for with the data protection law also, you have to be vigilant yourself. If something happens in spite of being vigilant, of course data protection law, of course GDPR, of course BDSG will step in. But the first step will always start with you, the data subject.
Correct. Okay.
Any more questions?
No.
Okay. Okay. I said at the very beginning that I live in Germany and my work is totally in German. My previous jobs were all in German. So when I started working, not in the data protection field, but generally working, I had to use German because that is lingua franca over here. You have to speak German to be able to work anywhere. And stepping into German was is a story. It's like a mythology for me. Mm, because whenever people hear German, they say, "Oof, one of the toughest language, so very harsh." But I was introduced to German by my late father, and this is a story that I share a lot with anyone that is interested to hear. I was 12 years old. It was the year 2004, and I was tasked to clean the bookshelf of my dad. And while cleaning, this small, thin notebook fell off from the bookshelf. Me being the inquisitive creature that I was, and I still am, I opened the notebook and I found my dad's name on the very first page and the year 1984 written on the notebook. Few pages further, and I see this weird language being written. Sprechen Sie Deutsch? What does this even mean? And as any other 12-year-old, I went to my father, who was on the bed, sitting, reading his newspaper like he used to do on holidays and in the morning. And I asked him, "What is this?" He took a look and said, "Oh, you found my German notebook." Now, me being the 12 years old and the fantasyful creature that I was, bracket, still am, uh, I asked my dad a barrage of questions. Were you at the Berlin Wall? Did you kill people? Were you a spy? Were you helping people to move move from the Berlin Wall to the western part of Germany? And my dad was like, "Hold your horses. Stop with your fantasy. I never left the country." "And how come you learned German?" He went actually to learn better spoken English. The spoken English teacher at the institution said, "Your English is better than most of the people. You don't need to learn any more spoken English." And after a few minutes of break, he said, "Come, let's learn German." And my father was like, "Why do I need to learn German?" And the teacher at that time said, "Come on, it's not going to harm you in any way. Let's just go ahead and learn German." And that's how he learned German. Not completely, he just learned the very basic stages. And then I did the most logical thing in the world. I told him to teach me. And he did. My dad is my first German teacher. He taught me the EBCs of German, the one, two, threes of German. And that's how I fell in love with the language. My dad wanted me at one point of time to learn French because, according to him, French is the more used foreign language in the world market. It was right after my 10th grade, after my madhyamik, and he said, you are going to learn French. And I was already sad and I was like, but I wanted to learn German. I said French. Okay. My dad said, no more words to be exchanged. So I was prepared. I was supposed to go on a Monday, I think, to the French language school, pay the fees, and get into the class. I woke up in the morning and discovered I am suffering from chickenpox. And there came an end to the French learning part. After my 12th grade, I asked my dad again. This time he did say, yes, okay, okay, let's go to Max Muller Bhavan, as Goethe Institute is known in Kolkata. And I went there. I went to Goethe Institute, got myself enrolled, did German and law parallelly, and was given the opportunity to come to uh, Bonn in 2014 as a language scholarship holder. And I did my one of the higher levels here in Bonn for a month. And after visiting Bonn, I was convinced that I have to come to Germany. And I did in 2016. Again, thanks to my dad, because if he didn't help me, I would not be here. And I dedicated myself to learning and teaching German because that's what I used to do as a student from 2017 to 2020. I used to teach refugee mothers with small children German as a foreign language. And while learning and while absolutely being enamored with the language, I found out that this language has the capability to make beautiful words, which does not have any English equivalence. For
I see.
example, for example, Zusammengehörigkeit. Zusammengehörigkeit means the feeling of togetherness. It's just one word. Heimweh or Fernweh. Heimweh means the desire to see your home again. And
Okay.
Fernweh means the desire to go away to a faraway place.
Oh,
Vorfreude means the happiness or the anticipatory happiness of something good that is about to happen. I'm pretty sure my mom is going to watch this podcast either live or at a later time. And whenever I am going to visit my mom in India, the dates that counts down to my flight, the happiness that she exudes, that is a typical Vorfreude thing.
oh, I see.
That's that it doesn't have any English equivalence to it. I have no idea what we can call this in one word in English. So I very much love the language and I use it um, as my means of communications every day. At least the 8 hours I invest in my work, I have to use German because otherwise people won't understand me. And sometimes I do use the language a little bit crookedly. Crookedly in the sense, whenever I'm in the airport, people look at me and their first impression is, ah, we have to speak in English. And
Oh.
then I approach them and I'm like, hello, good morning, wie geht es Ihnen? Like, hi, good morning, how are you doing? And they are like two
Surprise.
steps. so 2 steps back. I was like, oh, she's one of us. She speaks German. Okay, yeah, forget about everything else. We are good here. So that's one of those crooked things that I really love to do, because then people are like, oh, she's one of us. Okay, okay, yeah, forget about everything. All good. No emergency English interpreter needed. The other thing I really want to draw attention to, for those people who are coming down to Germany for the first time, be it study, be it job, is the mental health, the challenge
Yes.
that no one talks about. Germany is, barring the summer months, a very dark and cold country.
Oh, yes.
I prefer dark and cold countries because I hate the summer. I hate the hot summers of India that I am used to. I look forward to the cold months where I can put on my long coat and cover my head with a cap and wrap my throat around with a shawl. I look forward to that. But this unfortunately wreaks havoc on our mental health. And by our I mean people like us who are coming from a very sunny place, who have been with their family for the most of their life, and suddenly you find yourself in a completely different country. It's dark, it's cold, there's no family or friend support, and on top of that, no one understands you, probably because the language is different from your mother tongue. So this takes a toll on the this takes a toll on the mental health of most of the people. And we have this, how do I say, we have this very societal environment in our home country. The neighborhood auntie is always looking out for you, the neighborhood uncle is always asking you how you are. So you feel kind of like, oh, I'm part of this place, or I'm part of this neighborhood. You find yourself in a very group situation. You know that, okay, if I'm running out of salt in my house, I can run next door and ask for salt, and there will be someone to give me salt.
Yes.
But it is not like that here. It is not like that here. Germany is a society that believes mostly on individualism. So they are more proponents to allowing people to develop themselves by themselves. They are believers that if a person is left alone, they will be able to spread their wings according to how they think they can spread their wings. And that sometimes ends up in isolation. Not always, but sometimes ends up in isolation, especially if you can't speak their languages. Another thing is that the red tape, the bureaucracy here is quite a challenge to master. I remember being near the new person over here, going to the foreign office to get my documents in order, and I hear from somewhere in the building tremendous noise of people being screamed at.
Oh,
And I am terrified at that time. Oh my god, I'm going to get screamed at. Then I very shyly entered the room where I was supposed to go. And then I, like a very small mouse, I'm like, hello, guten Morgen. And the person who was in charge of dealing with my documents looks up and says, ah, Sie sprechen Deutsch. Oh, you speak German. Kommen Sie rein. Come inside. And it's like, okay, okay, I'm not getting screamed at. So this happens a lot, but the bureaucratic issues are something that needs to be dealt with. It's part and parcel of the life, and you have to be stone hearted for that. You need to keep pushing the bureaucratic things, otherwise it will take long, and the longer it takes, the more pressure it puts on your nerves. And at one point you will feel like your patience is breaking, your sanity is breaking, but you still have to keep on. And unfortunately, that is a bitter truth of living here in Germany, that you have to be prepared for longer bureaucratic timeline. And definitely, once you, in your home country, you were in the middle of family, friends, you can call your friends and they can be at your home in a half an hour's notice. You don't even have to cook your own food, just have to come home and ask. For example, for me it was like asking my mom, "Mama, I'm hungry, what do you have?" And she would tell me like, "Yeah, change and come back, we will have dinner together." I didn't have to think of what I'm going to cook or what I'm not going to cook, what I'm going to buy, what I'm not going to buy. But here you have to do everything by yourself. You have to be efficient at your work, you have to do good in your college, in your studies. You have to work. You have to also keep your house spick and span clean, because if you don't, the moment you are changing house and your house is not spick and span clean, you will lose money.
Yes.
Your caution money will, you lose your caution
Deduct.
money.
Yes.
Yes, yes. To avoid that, it's better to take the time once a week to clean the house properly, so that we do get the 3 months caution that we have to pay, or at least 1 month's caution that we have to pay at the end of our rental period back. So all these issues culminate into mental health challenges. And people from our country, they have this weird, or why should I say weird, this is how we have been taught, that
Yes. Yes.
talking about mental health, talking about going to a therapist is a taboo.
Hmm.
But it is not a taboo in Germany. It is, in fact, covered by the health insurance. But we don't have to go to the therapist for each and every dark thought that comes to our mind. We can first try to mitigate it by some of these situations. We can make time for our hobbies. For example, I love to cook. And whenever I have time and the means, I find myself creating an experimental food. For example, Japanese food or Mexican food, something like that. So, making time for your hobbies is very, very necessary. Even the workplace says that if your duty is 8 hours, work for 8 hours and then go back. Do not be at work for 10 hours if your work is for 8 hours. Of course, there are situations where you can't help it, you have to be there for 10 hours because there's a deadline coming, there's something in priority, but let that be the exceptional cases and not the regular cases. If your duty is 8 hours, then it is 8 hours. After 8 hours, you are going back to your private life, and by private life, you can go make time for your hobbies, go meet new people. There are a lot of ways to meet new people over here. There are even expat clubs over here where you can go and meet new people who are also expats. If you are struggling with your language, go to a language exchange club. You might teach someone Hindi or Bengali, and in turn, you can learn German from them. I have been a part of those clubs during my student times, and also sometimes here also in Bonn. Pushing yourself to learn something new. This is something that I try to do whenever I feel that, okay, I'm getting really, really dark thoughts in my head, like, oh, this is going so dark. Nothing ever will look good again. So I push myself to learn something new. And because I pushed myself to learn something new, I stumbled upon self defense. And I learned the basics of self defense when I was at the university. I still dabble in some parts of self defense, like Japanese sword fighting. I went to one of the seminar. I got an invitation to go to another seminar for self defense, but I'm busy on that day, so I won't be able to make it. But I keep getting these seminar invitations, and if I'm free on that day, I do go to the seminars. Um, Another thing is definitely to stay in contact with your family regularly if possible. This is something that I swear by. I understand that not everyone has a very good or supportive family life even back at home, but if you do have a supportive, and if you do have a some good family life in India or at your home country, stay in contact with them, because they are the person to whom you can vent out each and everything. Please do not give out data protection stuff, but vent out anyway. um, you can vent out to them and they will never judge you, and that is a huge relief. You can scream and say, "Ah, I met this one customer or this one client of mine. He is this, he is that, he made my life hell." You can scream about this person and no one is going to judge you. So you are relaxed, you are happily doing it. And it is, I mean, most of us have aged parents back at home. It is always great to check up on your parents, your family, to see how they're doing. Do they need help? Do they need someone to talk to? It's always great to spend some time with your family, because we all know that we cannot be there physically. We are 8,000 kilometers away from our home. We right now have the means to use technology to stay connected to our family, and staying connected helps with mental health. Even if they are not physically by your side, they're mentally and emotionally by your side, and that gives so much power to fight the voices or the dark thoughts in your head. And because Germany is a very individualistic country, you have to learn how to have a quality time by yourself. You can go read new books, enjoy a home spa treatment. And by home spa, I do not mean order a jacuzzi and sit in the jacuzzi. No, just get a normal tissue face mask, get your preferred drinks, sit back, relax, turn on some soothing music, and enjoy the time. That's what I mean by having a home spa treatment. And if nothing is helping, then do visit a therapist. A therapist is a person just like you and me. He or she is not going to bite off our head. There is going to be no discrimination. It is actually prohibited by law to make any kind of discrimination. Um, and I understand that there will be shortage of therapists who can speak in English, but again, there are also online help available. Get any kind of help if you cannot deal with yourself. You do not have to deal with everything yourself just because you're an adult. You can ask for help, you should ask for help. And visiting a therapist is not a taboo here. So if you cannot control or cannot deal with the negativity by yourself, call a therapist. There are therapists who are available on phone. There is even a hotline that connects you to therapists. And say if you have an anxiety attack at the middle of the night, and you feel like the walls are closing in on you, there are numbers where you can call and they can get you to calm down. Use the resources, inform yourself of the resources, use the resources, and It just might be the key that you're looking for to open the lock. And with that, I end my presentation.
Okay, as I mean, thank you so much. The story you described
Hmm.
within this short time, uh, it is full of, I can say, like it shows grit, it shows how to learn, and because that individualistic life, as you ec- described that in
Hmm.
Germany, is very advantageous.
Yes.
So it helps to become self-reliant, like
Yes.
uh, i- in the true sense, like cooking for yourself,
Yes.
learning to save yourself, like learning something for self-defense, and also mixing with people from different uh, languages. And
Yes.
languages are the most natural things which comes out of our mouth. We sometimes I think that when the babies cry, whether they cry in their language, like a German baby or a an Indian baby, so they cry with the natural language, but slowly they grow and they learn the language. So that way you have learned so many things. And data protection is a subject of importance, of course, and very complex things. Like whoever is dealing with data protection law, I mean, I have read a few chapters or very informational, you can say, uh, what I could get when it started in 2018.
Yes.
And yes, I have seen that in emails also. Say some people send their email newsletters.
Hmm.
They have added something at the end when GDPR
Yes.
uh, came into effect. So that means there is a requirement, and people around the world, they have learned how to incorporate these like how to comply with GDPR
Correct.
in their everyday, even say for their blogs also when they
Yes.
circulate.
Yes.
Yes, and I have seen that LinkedIn's office is in Ireland.
Yes.
I mean,
It
head
is.
office.
Yes.
So I do not know whether it is purposeful or something. It is incidental. Why the business being in the US, main business? So
Hmm.
why they have registered the company in Ireland? That is also is
Because Ireland is EU.
EU.
Yes. And if it is within EU, then it is not technically falling under the US EU problem. We've had this problem again. Maximilian Schrems comes into play. There was this understanding, I should say, between EU and US from 1998 that EU data for specific reasons can be sent to US and it will be like a safe harbor. No one is going to infringe those laws. But then came Maximilian Schrems and he pointed out some very big loopholes through which US can process the personal data of EU, which is not in accordance to the, at that time there was not a GDPR but a data protection law, an older version of GDPR in force, and they could use the loopholes to process without any consent, without any legitimate reason. So that was overturned in 2015. On 2016 came the new law, Privacy Shield. It stayed for 4 years. Again, Max Schrems said there are loopholes. This is not working. It was overturned again. We currently have the EU US data privacy framework, which is incompatible standards with EU. US has promised that if there are any disputes arising from the data transfer of EU nationals to US, they will hold a separate court and will try it in standards comparable to the GDPR. This was not the case 2, 3 years ago. So, what the US companies did to circumvent this was they put a branch office and registered the branch office in Ireland because that was in EU. And then they said, okay, we are sending data from, say, from Germany to Ireland. It is within EU. But it remains a fact that the mother company is in US, so obviously the back door is open to send the data. And that was how it was working till the EU US data privacy framework came into power. That is the reason why most of the companies were in Ireland.
Oh, I see. Okay. So, thank you very much for giving time and your precious time and to create the presentation, which is very nice. And um, the flow of the uh, uh, talk, why, when you have given your informational things and then the professional, the subject, and finally you have given help tips to the students or the new job seekers who actually got to Germany for their work. So those are excellent, and uh, I don't know whether uh, people will watch it, but it is quite helpful for whoever is going professionally to work in this region
Yeah.
and for study or higher studies and also for job. So
Yes.
I can see only one. Nobody asked any question, but one one person just appreciated. But okay, somebody, a student, just was
Hmm.
probably he always writes this comment and he attends. So thank you, Sarpraj, for looking into this and
I would
appreciating.
just give some small advices to new incoming people from our country.
Yes, please.
Uh, it's not okay to download music from any websites possible. It's not okay to download movies from any website possible because that is a direct violation of not only data protection law but also intellectual property law.
Yes,
And do not take pictures of people on the street because you are not asking for their consent, and that is a direct
yes,
data protection law violation.
yes, yes,
And also, do not do not play music loudly after 8 or 10 p.m., depending where you will be staying, because they have something called roadside. Roadside means silence time. So that needs to be taken care of. Otherwise, we will have not the police, but the law and order department in our house door. And that is something you do not want, not as someone who has come down to Germany for the first time. Um, and also, do not use torrents in any way in Germany because that is illegal. If you are streaming something, be very careful. Make sure that is you are streaming from a legal website because the streaming laws are still a little dicey right now. And yeah, Be careful where you are using your online banking. Do not fall into scams.
Okay. These are special tips um, regarding torrents, because sometimes now I don't download that Linux, that ISO images using torrents, because they have another option now. But say in Linux official distributions, they also have links how to download, direct download or through torrents or
Mm,
through some special things. So in
mm.
Germany, people cannot use torrents.
They should not. They should not. The fine can be really hefty.
Okay. So that
Yes.
means in that domain, it may not work also, I
It's
suppose.
not, it's not a question of working. It might just work. I mean, if you're using a VPN or something like that, it might just work. But then you run the risk of being discovered. And if you're discovered, then you will get one big letter asking, like, since you have violated our intellectual property laws, we are charging you hereby with 3,000 euro fine.
Yes,
And then you have to, like, oh God, do I get a lawyer or do I pay the fine?
yes, yes, yes. So it has to be very careful.
Yes.
So I think the students who entered there, they get these guidelines from their
Yes.
university
Yes.
before coming to Germany. So thank you so much, Iona, for your time, and first of all, for agreeing to expose yourself live, because not many people agree to come to say on video live and also present about their work and life. So I am so grateful to you,
Thank
and
you very much.
since this streaming will be uh, recorded, means it is being recorded and it will be on LinkedIn and YouTube. Whoever wants to, they can view it later, and we will share it, and you also share the links of
Yeah.
YouTube and LinkedIn, whichever
Mhm.
platforms they want,
Yes.
and we will meet again uh, on some other things about, say,
Yes.
your activities in um, say music and other things.
Yes.
So in a later another episode, and as Ovipshito also uh, will be testing that
Mhm.
his choices of music and other things in a
Yes.
later episode. So
Yes.
we will try also say your group activities sometimes when you do. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So thank you. So we will meet again. So
Yes.
I will end the stream, and
Yes. Just
if you if
what
you
what
if you have if you have to
yeah.
say any
I
final
just
comments.
yeah, just final comments is that whatever I have said in this stream are exclusively my personal opinions, and they should not be taken like the opinions of any organization. These
Yes,
are absolutely my personal opinions.
yes, the podcast is uh, exclusively our personal communication
Yes.
without intercepting any rules or laws whatsoever, and we have not violated anything.
No, we have not.
Yes, yes.
We have not.
So we'll meet again. So
Yes.
thank you so much.
Thank you
Bye.
for having me here. It was a
It is
pleasure.
my pleasure. It is also my pleasure because you have agreed and you have taken so much effort to create this presentation and do it.
Thank you. Thank
So
you very
we'll
much.
have again. So
Yes.
bye. I'm
Yes.
ending the stream.